Welcome back to Storytime with Captain Xavier. I'm Chaylo Laurino, and I play Captain Xavier here on YouTube and video games and in various other places. But this story, today's story, is actually not about Captain Xavier. This is just a story about me from my interesting past. I will address the first thing that everyone's going to notice. Yes! I have trimmed my beard. Yes, I am aware of this. No, I don't need it pointed out. Kindly come to grips with this and move on with your lives. So today's story comes from when I was like 12 years ago. I think I was 26, and my father invited me for a month-long trip through Europe, which I'm still not sure it was worth it. It was a free month trip through Europe, but it came at the expense of traveling with my father, which was unpleasant. There were some hilarious stories that ensued, but the first story we're going to tell about this is how we accidentally broke into a hotel in France. And there were some cultural things that I understood, that I was aware of, because I'd taken French in high school for 3 years. My French was atrocious at this point in time. Not that my French was ever great. But this was the first day. We'd spent a week in Ireland, tooling around, going to pubs and bed and breakfasts and seeing the sights, and then we hopped on a ferry and took it to France. And we got to France, and I was vaguely aware that there were some very unusual, to our mind, unusual things about the way they did things in France. And one of them was that hotels tend to not be open 24/7. You are expected to check in by 9 o'clock. And this may not be all hotels in France. This particular one was definitely the case. You were expected to check in by, a reasonable hour and get your key, and then you could go off and do whatever you wanted for the rest of the day. And the key that you were given, in addition to opening your room, would open the door to the hotel so you could get in. If you showed up after that, the doors were locked and they went home like reasonable adults would do. And we got there late. I don't remember why. I don't know, it was just bad scheduling, or we got lost, or my father was too busy looking. He has no concept of time. So we got there late, and it was locked. It was closed. And so we were like, we're going to have to sleep in the car. This is going to be miserable, because it was a European car, so it's about, that big. But we were prepared for it. But then, a man with a suit came up and opened the front door. And so I naturally assumed he must be an employee, and I went over to talk to him. But my French was atrocious, and he didn't speak any English, apparently. Or decided not to speak any English. It's his country. We should speak French. That's fair. That's fair. But I tried to explain that we had a reservation, and is there anything we can do? And he said something. He said a sentence, and it contained a word. And when I took French, I got this word wrong. On every quiz, on every homework assignment, on every test, this word was the bane of my existence, and I got it wrong every time. I could never remember what this word meant. And this man said it. Of course he said it. It had to be the one word that I could never remember. And he said it. And I didn't understand him. The only part of the sentence that I understood were the last two words, which was pas ici, which roughly translates to not here. Or at least I thought it did. That was what it meant in my head. And I thought he meant we were at the wrong location, that this wasn't the right hotel. But I showed him, the paperwork that we had, and it seemed, looked like the right building and the right address, and he read it, and he's like, yeah, that's here. But then he said that sentence again. And I didn't understand it. And there was clearly this communication was not going to work out. And so, bizarrely, and again, I don't know if this is all hotels in France, or just this particular one, or if it's a common thing, or what's going on. But they didn't keep the keys to the room behind the counter like we would in the US. They had the keys to the rooms that were empty in the doors of the rooms. So he led us over to one of the rooms that had a key in it. Clearly there was no one in it. He takes the key out, he opens the door, he points in, there's 2 beds, he hands us the key, and he goes on his way. And we go into our room, we're like, okay, we'll sort it all out in the morning. And we go to sleep. And about 2 a.m., I sit bolt upright, just suddenly, instantly awake, because I remembered what that word meant. The sentence he was saying, and I will butcher this because I have not practiced French in about a decade, was Je ne travaille pas ici. I do not work here. Travailler. That was the word. To work. I could never remember it. I don't know why. But I remembered it then. And I realized we hadn't checked in. We snuck in behind another guest and they showed us to her room. And once again, I'm like, well, I can't do anything about it now. We'll deal with it in the morning. So I went to bed. I went back to sleep. Woke up the next morning and explained what was going on to my father. And we realized they don't know we're here. We could just go. And they would never know. They would be confused and they might wonder, well, why didn't the Laurinos ever show up? But we decided that was bad karma, and we did not need bad karma while traveling in a country to which our communication was... so I went to check out, having never checked in. So I go up to the counter, like, hello, Laurino. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you never showed up. Of course, this was all in French, and my French was still very broken. It got better by the end of the week. I was actually quite good. Yeah, they're like, how did you get in? Like, some guy let us in. Who? I don't know. He doesn't work here. All of that in very broken French, and they were just very confused, and I gave them the amount of money that we owed for the night, and I left. And any time we saw police going by with their lights flashing or whatever, we were always, for the rest of the trip, oh no! They're looking for those crazy Americans who broke into that hotel in France! Run for it! That was how we accidentally broke into a hotel in France. We would have another run-in with the gendarmes. I think that was actually in Italy. Yeah, it was an old Roman bath that we weren't supposed to be at. There were some other absolutely hilarious stories from that trip to Europe, and I will eventually probably tell more of them. I'm probably, as I said previously, probably going to quit doing the storytime videos on this channel. Partly because I'm running out of really good stories for Captain Xavier, so it's not quite as fitting anymore. That's why I, kind of fell back on stories of my own shenaniganery, because there's a lot of them too. I used to lead a really interesting life. It's gotten a lot boring lately. But I'm kind of changing up what kind of videos I want to do on this channel, and I want to do more of the science videos and firing videos and get back to doing mod videos and all of that. Definitely game footage videos. When we start hosting events here, which we're getting closer to. We are getting closer to hosting our first really small private events, just local crew, and playtesting the arena and all of that. So what I'm probably going to do is shift story time over to my Lego channel, and while I'm building the sets on Lego by the book, I'll tell a story there. Start out with a story, and then it'll go to the fast forward, and then I'll review the set. But that's probably where story time will end up shifting over to, just so I can tell any story that I feel like telling that particular day. And I may go back to having surveys of what stories you'd like to hear. But it'll be over on my Lego channel, so if you really enjoy the story time videos, check them out over there, where I can be a lot more relaxed and do something that I enjoy doing and just reminisce about stories. And so that's probably where that will go, and I will shift to doing a different regular segment. I may have miscalculated how much fan mail I get, so I might have to go back to doing that every other week, or I'm going to get swamped and end up with 2-hour-long fan mail opening videos because I get sent so much awesome stuff by you guys. We will see. But I'll definitely start having a different regular segment on Fridays. It might be range day. We'll see. Things might start becoming every other month or whatnot, because I'm busy. I'm doing stuff, and it's awesome. I'm getting stuff built that I've been wanting to build for the last year, but there was no point because I wasn't going to be able to use it. And now I can use it. So, yeah, that's what's going on. That was the story. It was fun times. I'm sure they probably still tell that story too. Yeah, these Americans just showed up, snuck into the place in the middle of the night, and then gave us money and left. It was weird. Who knew? They could have just left. I don't know. Anyway. I thought it was a hilarious story. Let me know what you guys think about it. And what kind of stories you'd like to hear over on the Lego channel. Thank you for watching.